Technology is obviously very, very important. And I took an inventory in my car as I was parked in here. Now, I'm not going to tell any of you where my car is, and the keys are in my pocket, okay? But I realized that there's a GPS on the dashboard. There are 2 cell phones, a Droid and an iPhone, okay, both of which have, you know, Google Maps and every navigational system I could want. There's an iPad in there that on occasion gets used to because I can't see the screen on the phone or the GPS sometimes anymore. And there's also a laptop, and then sitting at home is another computer. So the idea that this sort of non-tech guy has 6 or 7 devices is probably not much different than most of you. But I want to tell you a little bit about Thanksgiving at my family's house, okay? I'm very fortunate in that I have both of my parents here. They're both alive, healthy, et cetera, and Mom has now got a phone in which she can text. Mom's finding out that texting's pretty cool because, you know, we can talk about the things we need to talk about, but if she just wants to get some quick answer, she can do so. Now, understand it's a phone that you slide it down and there's still a keypad there. No disrespect to anybody that's still using that technology. I'm so sorry, okay? I'm looking over here, okay? But Dad, who is, you know, certainly one of the greatest mentors I've ever had in my life and remains such, taught me most of what I know. Dad's still got a phone that you can imagine that it just kind of flips open, okay? And there's big buttons on there. The numbers are big. And it basically accepts and makes phone calls. I mean, that's kind of what it does, okay? So I mentioned Thanksgiving at my parents' house, which is what's held. And this long laundry list of emails goes out to a large database of people, some of whom I know, don't know. People just arrive at Mom's house. And Thanksgiving takes place both outside, inside, the way their house is structured. And for 4 or 5 hours, there's just kind of this open smorgasbord of stuff that goes on. And this past Thanksgiving, of course, there's about 4 generations of people there. And, you know, over the course of this time, what are they doing? All of these generations of people are at some point sitting and doing this on these little things that are about this big. By the way, this thing this big, which is over there, I got 2 of them over there, so I won't answer it while I'm talking to you. This thing's got more computing power than what put people on the moon, okay? But they're doing this. And my dad leans over to me at one point in time and he says, look, he says, after the holidays are over, he said, would you take me to the Verizon store or some store or whatnot? I really want to buy an iPhone. And I stopped for a minute and I said, okay. I said, yeah. And I'm trying not to smile. And you got to remember something that on occasion, I've got this vision of every time I call him, it's like a new experience on how to answer his phone, okay? So there are times I will call him and I'm cracking up as I'm calling him because I just want to hear the fumbling. I just want to hear it going on. So I leaned over and I said, that's a good idea, Dad. We can do that. No problem. I said, we'll make time to do it. I said, but I said, Dad, before you go to look at that kind of a phone, that sort of a smart device, you have to decide really what you want to do with it. What's it going to accomplish for you? What do you want to do with it? And he leaned over without any words and he just said, I just want to do what you guys are doing. As my witness. If he was here, I would tell the same story, okay? Anyway, let's start out the right way. Good morning, everyone. How are you? That's the way to answer, okay? It is really great to see everyone here. This has been a tremendous turnout. This is a tremendous topic. And as I look around the room, the thing that strikes me is that between the speakers we're going to see all day long and we're going to hear from, and all of you, it is evident that the future of smart transportation in New Jersey is right here around us today. It is critical. The time has come. We have to embrace this topic. We have to run with it. I'm really happy to be here. I'm happy to have the opportunity to discuss what I think is one of the most important topics that faces our state, and specifically one that I think stands to have one of the greatest overall long-term impacts on our lives, and that is intelligent transportation systems. You can't imagine a day, it just doesn't exist, that you're not impacted by ITS, okay? It has become so much a part of our routine, is part of every minute of our day practically, but we don't always pay that much attention to it. It's not dissimilar to breathing. God knows, ladies and gentlemen, if you had to remind yourself to breathe, nobody'd be here. This would be an empty room, and certainly I wouldn't be speaking to anybody, okay? We don't think about it. but we do it. It happens. If you think about a world without ITS, it's as I mentioned, almost the same as thinking about a world without breathing. They are both critical to our existence. They are critical to our daily lives. They are critical to our daily commutes. They are critical to the economic future and stability of this region. They are critical to productivity. There is no other way around it. They are. I want you to think about your trip here today. Now, I don't know how you got here. There are many ways to get here, many different directions. But you probably encountered the overhead variable message signs. You probably, many of you use EasyPass. I don't happen to do so, but many of you use EasyPass, New Jersey 511. And it's very possible that you didn't even notice any of those things that were happening. And that's okay. I'd rather have you focusing on the road than doing that, but that's okay. Every one of our state roads, every major road that we have right now is being monitored in real time with both cameras and with sensors in a statewide transportation management center that is not far from here, just over in Woodbridge. You may not think about it, but ITS essentially keeps you breathing. It keeps you on time. It helps to make you productive, as I mentioned, and something that we don't often think about, which is that it helps to keep you out of harm's way. Now, I want to give you a list of partners here. Just hear me out for a minute. NJDOT, NJ Transit, Turnpike Authority, the Port Authority, FHWA, FTA, Transcom, NJTPA. Let me say that one again. Hang on real quick. NJTPA. I want to say that one again, okay? DVRPC, SJTPO, NIMTIC, and of course we have also embraced the TMAs. That is an amazing list of partners. And over the past 15 years, these partners have all taken the critical first steps in introducing ITS to the motoring public. And frankly, our lives, every one of us, our lives are better for it. But often, like my father, who's going to look at a smartphone and say, oh man, what are they going to think of next? Look at this technology. These partners are also, and if you think about this, they are also in a position where we're looking at what they're doing and saying, wow, it's amazing, but what are they going to think about next? Well, folks, I'm here to tell you that we're about ready to take that first step. It is with great honor, it's with great pleasure, it's with tremendous excitement that I announce that the NJTPA is about to award a contract that's going to ultimately result in the complete update to our statewide ITS architecture, and that is for the first time since 2005. The first time since 2005. So you're sitting there and you say, well, okay, Matt, that's great, but kind of what does it mean for me? This project, and this is for the first time, is going to gather all of these stakeholders that I mentioned before, that amazing list of stakeholders that are tied to transportation. And they're going to conduct a needs assessment on how these organizations use their data that they've got, okay, and what we can do to update the framework to make it more efficient for daily operations and daily planning. This is going to have an impact in many ways, an important impact. It's going to impact us in terms of how we prioritize projects. It's going to impact us on project delivery and the project delivery process. It's going to impact us on long-range planning. It's going to impact us on performance measures. And ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to impact us in terms of capital investments and where the money is being spent and how we're integrating ITS into that. Essentially, this is going to be a roadmap for the 21st century transportation system that every agency in New Jersey will use with the ultimate goal of creating a system that rivals those found anywhere in the world, right here in the great state of New Jersey. Now, having said that, I ask a question, I don't expect an answer, but is there any place better to do this in the state of New Jersey? I want you to think about something. We have, without question, one of the most dense and most congested road networks in the nation. If you've driven here today, you know that. If you've driven anywhere in the state of New Jersey, you know that. Recession or no recession, ladies and gentlemen, the road system continues to be used. The road system continues to degrade. It's here. We have a statewide public transportation network that includes numerous transit lines, many of them crossing state borders. On top of that, we have one of the country's highest concentrations of electronic toll transponders and toll facilities. And don't forget that one of the most integral parts of our economy overall is that we have one of the largest cargo ports, and we also have one of the biggest freight networks in America. We have built ourselves, essentially, constructed ourselves into a rather difficult position, into a corner, so to speak. And as Mary Kay mentioned before, and as I firmly believe, we're not going to build our way out of it in this particular region. I want to go back a few years, and I want to bring up something, remind you of something that one of our former DOT commissioners, Chris Calori, said, and I think it sums up the purpose of why we're meeting here today. He was reflecting on transportation in New Jersey, and he said, we don't have the resources to build new roads. He said, increasing capacity on existing roads is not an easy process. It isn't. So he said that as a result, we have to do a better job of finding new ways to manage our existing infrastructure. I'm not sure that we could condense our purpose any better into a single paragraph than that. So it is why we are all here today. We want to work towards implementing new technologies to better manage the difficult situation that we face. Our partners, that wonderful list of people, of organizations that I mentioned, have already taken the first critical step with the innovations that they have introduced. And now we want to work with them to offer New Jersey what we're going to call the 2.0 version of transportation ITS. This isn't something I just believe in. This is something that I know, and that is that we, working together, have the capability to make a difference. And folks, after all, it is what we are supposed to do, actually make a difference. I am so indebted to our staff at NJTPA who have done a tremendous job and continue to do a tremendous job, and I never take an opportunity to not thank them very publicly for what they do. I thank our board members for the fact that they support our staff. They do a great job. I want to thank you all for allowing me to have an opportunity to be here. Have a great, great session. Appreciate it very much.